Hey y'all, I know it's been a while, but I'm excited to be back. Today I'm going to be talking about hormones and testing your hormones and how important this is. If you've been following me on this channel for the past 10 years now, which I can't even believe it, you know that my journey started with me finding out that I was pre-diabetic and then developing acanthosis all over my face, which I've talked about before. I have a couple videos. I think they're both called I Did Not Bleach My Skin Part 1 and Part 2. So if you're interested in learning about that, you can definitely check those out. And I recently did a podcast episode with an incredible dermatologist who talks about this condition as well. So I'll make sure to leave all those links below. But if you're new here, I lost about 100 pounds. This year marks my 10-year fitversary since that very first workout. And I've kept that weight off for the past 10 years. So my purpose here is really just to share with you guys the things that worked well for me and the things that are working well for my clients. Now, again, this is something that's very personal to me. I had the prediabetes, I had the acanthosis, but those things also came along with symptoms like fatigue and sugar cravings and things that I didn't realize were actually being impacted by something being off with my hormones. I thought that I was just lazy, I was just not following through on the workouts and the things that I need to do. And I also thought I just had these uncontrollable cravings, which I did, but I didn't understand where that was coming from. And I really thought that that was more of a discipline thing than it was a health thing. In fact, I didn't really think about health at all. At one point I thought maybe my thyroid, something was going on with it. But that was really the only time that I thought maybe something might be going on. Other than that, I pretty much just blamed myself. Now, if you want to get straight into the lab testing and things like that, I will leave a timestamp so that you can check that out. But I really just want to take a moment to address all of you who have followed me for all this time on this channel. I know some of you have also found me on other social media platforms, and I really appreciate that because I do show up on those platforms a lot more. And I just want to kind of explain why I haven't been on YouTube as much. And a lot of it just has to do with where my career is at this point. Back when I was on YouTube all the time, you guys know I was training in person. So I used to do car vlogs with Cookie or something like that because I was always on the road, always driving here and there in the Houston area, going to see my clients in different parts of town basically for the entire day. And so that's when I would film my YouTube videos. I was also just working with anybody who wanted to lose weight, they wanted to work with me. I signed them right on up, and things have just changed. I've been in this career for 10 years now, and before I was only focusing on the training aspect of it and really heavily focused on weight loss. But as I've grown in my career, I've went back and got a ton of different certifications, and I also have been doing some continuing education, including a mentorship that I'm in right now with a functional registered dietitian and also a functional nutrition coach. And this has helped me tremendously because they help me do things like interpret lab results for my clients. They also help me if I need to have particular meal plans for my clients and things like that. So that has really shifted in the sense that a lot of my time is dedicated to that, since I'm mostly working with women who are over 30 who are dealing with issues like hormone imbalance. It definitely is very time consuming. So I don't want to commit to saying, hey, I'm going to be back all the time. The podcast is posted here regularly. I think sometimes you guys don't notice when there's a video episode versus a audio episode. So make sure that you're checking out, especially the episodes with guests, because those are video episodes. And some of you have left me comments and said, hey, I miss seeing your face. So you can definitely see me on there more regularly. But when it comes to YouTube, I am going to just try to pop in here and there when I can, in between clients, in between trainings and things like that, just to give you guys some FaceTime, you know? Okay, so let's talk about hormones. Hormones are what regulate our body, and so this can impact everything from your mood to your metabolism. So this is why it's very important to make sure that you know what your hormone levels are and whether or not your hormone levels are perhaps contributing to any weight loss resistance or other symptoms that you may be experiencing. Okay, so now we're going to get into the hormones. Yes, the background has changed. That's because I polled IG and asked, which background was better, and they said this background. So we're over here now. So you leave me a comment below. Let me know as I start getting back into being on YouTube which background you would prefer, okay? But we're going to talk about the hormones. So let's first talk about estrogen. A lot of people think that the only thing you're looking at is whether or not the estrogen is too high or too low, but you actually have several different types of estrogen that you're going to be looking at, and it's more so about the ratio of that estrogen to other hormones. So make sure that when you're looking at your lab results, you're not just going, oh, it's high or oh, it's low, but you're also obviously with your doctor evaluating what that estrogen level is in relation to your other hormones as well. So not having that intricate balance between your different types of estrogen and your estrogen and other hormones can cause symptoms like irregular periods. It can also cause breast pain. So if you're experiencing any of those, this may be a sign that you want to go and get those levels checked out. Now, I will say as we go through this, you'll notice that there are some overlapping symptoms. So this is another reason why you want to make sure that you get your levels checked out so that you can determine where this issue is coming from, and then you and your doctor, you and your team, whomever you're working with, can figure out what your next step should be based on your individual hormone levels. Next, we have progesterone. This is another hormone that is going to want to be in balance with your estrogen. So estrogen and progesterone levels play off of each other, and you want to make sure that there is some synchronicity happening there. When there is not, you can again be experiencing things like irregular periods. This could also lead to PMS symptoms and anxiety. Next, we have cortisol, which is the stress hormone. Now, a lot of times cortisol really gets a bad rep because it is the stress hormone, but I do want to make sure you understand that you need cortisol. Cortisol is good. It just is supposed to operate in a cycle, and when that cycle is out of balance, that's when you can start to experience symptoms. Some of those symptoms are even things that you wouldn't expect, like accumulating fat in the belly area. So a lot of people will reach out and say, hey, you're a trainer, how can you help me to lose this belly fat? Well, it's not always going to just be through intense exercising or extreme dieting or anything like that. Sometimes those levels are related to your cortisol levels, and that's actually what needs to be addressed. Now, along with the belly fat, cortisol can also cause issues with sleep and sleep disturbances. And that is because as your cortisol starts to rise in the morning to wake you up, it rises throughout the day and then slowly kind of goes down with your circadian rhythm. And at the end of the night, it's supposed to turn off a little bit or be very low. And then that allows for your melatonin to kick in. But if you do not have that pattern operating as it should, then this is how you could have interrupted sleep, have a hard time falling asleep, feel like you're wired at the end of the day instead of the beginning of the day. So that's why it's important to make sure that you are checking these levels. Now, along those same lines, yes, you can go to your doctor and you can get cortisol measured in blood, but you just have to remember that that number is only giving you one indicator for the entire day, where cortisol is a pattern, and in order for you to ensure that there aren't any issues with your cortisol, it needs to be measured at multiple times during the day. A really great way that I like to do this with clients is through a saliva-based cortisol test. So you can look online and find a saliva-based cortisol test, or you can just consult with your doctor and ask them about taking a test like this where you would measure your cortisol throughout the day instead of just with one point, usually in the morning. Now, our thyroid hormones are going to regulate how we use energy. And even with just a slight imbalance, it can throw your body into absolute chaos. When your thyroid levels are low, it can hint at a possible disease like Hashimoto's, but it can also cause symptoms like fatigue, hair loss, and cold sensitivity. Now, it's not just about the thyroid function being low, but an overactive thyroid can cause issues like high blood pressure and muscle weakness. So you want to make sure you're testing everything when it comes to the thyroid. Test TSH, test your free T3, test your free T4. All of these are going to give you indicators and signs of what is going on. You also want to make sure that you run a test that tests for TPO antibodies as well. So make sure when you're getting your lab requisition that you're double checking that all of these tests are on there. Now we'll talk about insulin. I think this is one that everyone knows or at least has heard of. Having high insulin, of course, can lead to things like type 2 diabetes, and it can also lead to PCOS. So understanding your insulin levels, not just the levels themselves, but also your A1C levels, will help you to determine where you are in terms of your insulin sensitivity and whether or not you are pre-diabetic or full-blown diabetic. Now, this happened to be the case with me. I went into the doctor because of the acanthosis that I was having on my face, and she had a really keen eye, so she was like, hey, go and get your levels tested. More than likely you need a blood test. She didn't really tell me why, and I had no idea why. So when I went into the doctor and they told me that they were essentially testing for diabetes, I was like, whoa, that's a shocker. But your skin can give you clues as to what's going on with your body, in addition to also obviously having the blood testing to confirm what you suspect. When your blood sugar levels are not managed, it can cause issues like having severe sugar cravings. You can feel out of control. That's definitely how I felt. So that's why it's very important to double check and make sure that this is not something that's perhaps contributing to your inability to lose weight or to your weight loss resistance. If you're someone who can lose weight, but you lose it very slowly or you regain very quickly, these are all things that you want to dive into. Again, if you suspect that something is going on, please be sure to advocate for yourself. If you've already done blood testing and everything has come back normal, get a second opinion. Also, make sure that you are getting a full, comprehensive metabolic panel. Make sure you're getting a full thyroid panel. A lot of the times when you go to the doctor, you're just getting a CBC, a complete blood count, and that's not telling the entire story. So ladies, definitely make sure that you're going to an OBGYN to get your labs read, or also find a functional medicine practitioner who will look at your labs a little differently than Western medicine will and can kind of give you a hint as to whether or not what you're suspecting is actually what's going on and how to treat those things. Now, if this topic is something that you're interested in and you want to dive deeper into it, I am going to be hosting a masterclass in the month of October. I will leave all the information below if you would like to join that. We're going to be talking about hormones and holistic weight loss, how to lose your weight and keep it off for 10 years, right? Not just losing the weight and regaining it. So if that sounds like something you're interested in, definitely check out the link below. It was so good to be back. I hope that you guys are okay with this new kind of schedule that we're going to have. Leave me a comment. I'm sure y'all will let me know below. Thank you so much for watching today's video. Make sure that you comment, like, share, and subscribe if you are not already. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.